You can always count on Bud Light, just like you can always count on Always Game Gary. No bar is too far. No wing sauce is too hot. Not for Gary. Always Game Gary is famous among friends. He deserves a Bud Light. Enjoy responsibly. Bud Light Beer, AB St. Louis, Missouri.
The Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
My name is Clinton Yates, here on a very Black Friday. You want to get at me? Do so on the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed, at Clinton Yates, at ESPN Radio, or you can call me, 1-888-ESPN, 1-888-729-3776. Y'all know the rules. If you come incorrect in my mentions, I will embarrass you in front of your friends and your family, and I will not apologize. Today is also Black Friday. So as I said yesterday, on a holiday session, watch your step, Playboy. Right now, it's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. We had 3 football games yesterday, couple of which were decent. We'll start at the top, obviously, with Minnesota and Detroit. That was a better game ending up than it was starting out, but overall wasn't the best game in the world because Detroit probably should have won that game, in my opinion. Matt Stafford missed Golden Tate on a late toss that would have probably won them the game. There were all sorts of blunders and mistakes in that bad boy. It was yet another year that the Lions did not get a win at home on Thanksgiving. They had won a couple bad boys in a row, though, at home. But over time, the Vikings are just a better team. And the clear headline out of that little matchup was Case Keenum. He went 21 for 30, 282 yards, and 2 TDs, and he was balling. Case Keenum is officially back in the NFL, which is a sentence that I don't think I ever thought I would say, give me 2 or 3 seasons or 4 seasons back. Vikes look good, man. I don't even know why they were considering that little Teddy Bridgewater nonsense a couple weeks ago. I mean, listen, I like Teddy Bridgewater as much as the next guy, but he's been out of the league so long that it didn't seem smart. It didn't seem smart to even intonate that was going to be a situation that was possible to unfold. But apparently, lit a little bit of a fire under Case Keenum's behind because he played well yesterday. I enjoyed watching Case Keenum play. I repeat, I enjoyed watching Case Keenum play. This is not normal in the NFL. But that was a good game out of the Vikes, so they're sitting pretty right there in the NFC North. Second game, Dallas got popped. There's really no other way to put it. I mean, the Chargers are a team that had their season fall apart a little bit over the last month, but that team looked bad. I understand Zeke's not playing. I understand they've got issues in terms of trying to retool what their offensive line has been about. But again, they can't seem to do anything right. Their offense hadn't scored a touchdown in double-digit quarters. That streak continued a little bit. Their secondary looks like complete and utter garbage. They lost that game 28-6 at home on Thanksgiving. And they didn't get a point until the fourth quarter. Dak Prescott, 20 for 27, $179, no TDs. Meanwhile, America's favorite dad, Phillip Rivers, 27 for 33, 4-3-4 in the air and 3 TDs. That is what we like to call a monster day, kiddos. Chargers looked like a team that needed to get back in it, and they did get back in it. Fairly certain those two teams have the same record. But who would have thought it, considering how bad one looked and the other didn't? They are moving in exact opposite directions. Cowboys, man, they got problems. They got problems off the field. They got problems on the field. They got problems on the field on the sideline. And they got problems off the field in the front office. Speaking of which, Let's hear what Jerry Jones, the owner, president, and GM, had to say about their current state of affairs.
Is the coaching position being evaluated?
No. Just no. And again, I don't step out of the dressing room and evaluate the coaching position at all, candidly. And I don't even want to say it so that somebody might repeat it. Absolutely not. We've got some things that we're not playing good. We're not a good team right now. We can be a good team. You know, teams have lost their better players before, and so you can say that's a part of the game, but we certainly didn't think on its own merits that Zeke should be suspended. But I can't say that because we've lost 3 games is why we fought so hard. I just we did what we could do to just keep him out there. He's another part of the team.
He just had to slide that in there. Well, I ain't saying it's because of Zeke, but Zeke ain't there. Oh, remember Zeke? Yeah, Zeke. Yeah, okay, we know he's not playing, Jerry. We get that. I believe all of America knows you had a problem with that because you threatened to bring down the entire NFL over it. You don't have to keep sliding that in like we're not aware of the impact it has on your football team. We know. But Zeke ain't out there giving up 400 yards to Phillip Rivers. Just so we're clear. Cowboys are in a bad spot. Jason Garrett had some thoughts on what's going on with that offense without Zeke. Getting that audio. But Jason Garrett, obviously in a bad spot because he does not have Zeke. And that offense, man, they don't have any real big-time weapons. If Dak can't do what he does, it doesn't work the same way without Elliott. We talked to Herm about that yesterday. He said if you don't have the runner, your whole offense basically breaks down. All right, here we go. Jason Garrett, Cowboys head coach on the offense.
I think more than anything, it was just the entire offense. We weren't able to sustain things throughout the ball game. I do think we ran the ball fairly well early on in the game. We had some success. Unfortunately, we didn't convert those third downs to keep those drives alive. And everybody's got a piece of it. Starts up front, but the quarterback, the runners, the guys outside. Certainly as a coaching staff, we're always looking at ourselves and what our role is in it. So offensively, the performance wasn't up to par. It certainly wasn't up enough to match what they were doing on their side of the ball.
Translation, we're all some garbage right now. Didn't help that Zeke was there, obviously not. Didn't help that Tony Romo's right up there in the booth. That was awkward. That had to be the most awkward part of the whole game, by the by. Sitting there listening to Romo talk about what's going on with the quarterbacking situation right there in Dallas. He's out here trying to praise Jerry Jones when they're cutting to him on the sidelines, and you're thinking to yourself, man, I wonder what's going through Romo's head. He's probably thinking, I could go down there and suit up and do better than this nonsense. That wasn't good at all. Lastly, mercifully, my Skins got to win. It was a very boring game. It was a very ugly game. And at times it was downright embarrassing how the offense seemed to be so inept in terms of the basic execution of the tasks of actually running football plays. This notion of people not understanding in the NFL that you can't call 2 timeouts in a row, it's actually a delay of game penalty, it still boggles my mind how often this happens. It very famously happened at the Skins, and by very famously, I mean not famously at all. I mean those who are around here in D.C. remember it very well. It was the week after Sean Taylor died. And Joe Gibbs did it, and they ended up losing a game on a field goal because of the yardage they gave up on the penalty. Happened again with the Skins yesterday, but they pulled it out because the Giants are entirely hapless. Couldn't score in the fourth quarter, but Skins pulled it out, and Cousins made a nice little throw in the fourth quarter, what we call a money-making throw in the fourth quarter. But Eli Manning, man, not good. I mean, listen to this line. 13 for 27 for a $113. Ooh. Ooh, stankin'. Collard greens level stank when you don't put them in the fridge after the meal. Let's hear what he had to say about his night.
No fun losing. It's no fun not scoring enough points offensively. So, yeah, it can wear you out. It can test you. But we just got to keep going to the drawing board and find ways to play better and move the ball and score some points.
You take this personally, Eli? Do you take it personally?
Well, I think everybody takes it personally. When you lose a football game, you feel bad. You always think about plays you could have made a difference. It's tough.
Those Bama's are 2-9, which means their winning percentage is below the Mendoza line. Look, as far as the NFL is concerned yesterday, we didn't learn a whole lot. We knew the Vikes were pretty good. We knew the Lions had issues. We knew the Cowboys were problematic, and we thought the Chargers were probably going to be able to climb back into this little AFC West race. We knew the Giants were awful, and we didn't really know what the Skins had, but they managed to pull out a win at home, a win they had to have in their first ever home game on Turkey Day. We didn't learn a whole lot, but we did get to come together as family, which ultimately was probably the most important thing because the football was not that entertaining.
Hi, everyone. Stu Gatz here. Support for the Dan Le Batard Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, and your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Stugotz, STUGOTZ, equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Mike Golic Jr., we got to get things started, Gojo, with a little food talk.
Of course.
Obviously. First of all, I talked about this yesterday on the show. Are you familiar with the concept of a walking around ham when it comes to Thanksgiving?
A walking around ham. I can't say that I am, but I am definitely intrigued.
You understand what it is, which is basically when you've got the kitchen operating, you've got that little system moving. You don't want people popping in and out, constantly trying to mess with the actual meal in the food preparation. So instead of actually making all sorts of, prepared dishes for people to eat while they're waiting, you just have a ham. You have a side ham that people can just pop in and pop out, pick a piece off up. It's called a walking around ham to eat while you're walking around.
See, I'm all about a good side ham. I think ham in general gets way too much slander around the meat world, especially in holiday meats. For some reason, people want to treat ham like it's a trash meat, and I won't stand for that.
I mean, ham is not a trash meat. Just because it's a side ham doesn't make it a trash meat. But I see your point there.
Yeah, no, listen, that's other people. That is not me. That's not the world or the reality that I operate in. I'm just going off of what I've heard, the slings and arrows from the general public that have no idea what they really love.
Fair enough. All right, we got football to talk about. We got some rivalry games here. All right, the big one, I think, for most of the nation, for people who don't really necessarily get into having one particular college football team, but OSU Michigan is obviously there. There was weird news this week. They're coming out of Brady Quinn talking about they might have a lifetime contract. OSU's got a pretty good team. The JT Barrett story is sort of coming to a close. What's that game looking like for you as far as a matchup?
It's looking, I think, interesting for different reasons. Going into the season, we expected this to be another marquee ranked matchup of two teams in a rivalry that, when it's on its best day, matters and resonates probably as well as anything else. It's centrally located in the country, so it's a little more accessible than the Iron Bowl that really has more SEC familiarity and love than anything else. But I think this year it's going to be big, one, for Jim Harbaugh, because we've increasingly in the last week or so seen more people willing to talk disparagingly about him and his overall job performance than really we have in a while. And on the other side, for Ohio State, it's been a stretch this season where when they're good, they're as good as any team in the country, but they're capable, and they've shown us that sometimes they can come in a bit distracted and really a bit bored with the process, and their results show that. So can they go out and put forward the best version of themselves with all of that talent and show the committee, hey, listen, we're still not out of the picture yet, especially if they get a little chaos sprinkled in along the way?
One team that's definitely not out of the picture is the Hurricanes of Miami. They've got, I'm not going to call it a trap game, but they're on the road at Pittsburgh later today, coming up in about 90 minutes. What do you think about that game? Pittsburgh is not a very good team.
They're not a very good team, but this is one that hasn't been a very good team the last couple of years and still finds a way. Last year they beat a top 3 Clemson team near the end of the season. They're 3-0 against their last 3 AP top 3 opponents, so they're used to playing the role of giant killer out there in Pitt. That being said, Miami, I think, showed us a lot of that last week, and because you came into it off a game like Virginia last week where after the Notre Dame game, all the emotion, you sleptwalk a little and you saw, okay, we can still get beat if we're not playing our best football. Now, thankfully, they were able to turn it on before it was all said and done and still get a pretty decisive win, but having that as the precursor to this and not the Notre Dame game, not another marquee matchup, is going to let them know, okay, we have to handle our business now. We can't afford to look ahead to Clemson because if we show up and slow down, we can look like we did against Georgia Tech, against North Carolina before we found this sort of transcendent version of ourselves.
Mike Golic Jr. joins us here on the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz. Clinton Yates filling in here on a Black Friday. Awkward pause, just to make y'all know. Gojo, though, I want to ask you this. I had the feeling that Miami had a sex appeal factor that if they continued to play the way that they played, now I'm not going to say win or lose, but no matter what the margins were of how they won, they were going to get in. But right when they needed to do that last week, they laid an egg in the first quarter or so. Do you think that they are going? I mean, you mentioned that they didn't want to sleepwalk, but do you think that they've maybe lost that notion of, well, hey, everybody kind of wants to see them, and they actually have to blow people out now in order to make sure that they stay in that playoff?
I don't know if it's necessarily true, because if it would have been, we would have slighted them more for what happened against Virginia. Like, they essentially got rewarded, and you heard Kirby Hocutt and the committee talking about it. Miami showing those championship characteristics by coming back, being down 14 points multiple times in that game. That doesn't happen if you don't have the body of work that they put up against Notre Dame. Like, now that we have that blowout as context, we're good on giving them a pass on close games because we can spin that championship narrative. Look at Alabama this year. They played that close game against Mississippi State. You saw some championship attributes there, but all we're still talking about is Alabama hasn't played anyone going into this weekend. So having a marquee win on your resume, we've seen, is one of the things that matters most to the committee. It's what helped Ohio State a ton last year in the win against Oklahoma, and it's what's going to carry Miami going forward, despite what the win-loss margin looks like until they get to the ACC title.
Couple more to get to here. Clemson, South Carolina, always a good matchup. Love the way that's going to shake out. It's in Columbia. What are you looking at right there, Gojo?
I'm looking at a team in South Carolina that coming into the season probably would have had a better chance at this. Deebo Samuel, a guy who's been injured for them since early in the season, was, in my mind, going to be a Heisman Trophy candidate. I got a chance to call a game for them week 2 against Missouri where he was sensational and did it all. They've got a quarterback in Jake Bentley that can make it interesting for you. I just don't think that top to bottom they're built right now. They don't have the depth on defense to keep up with what Clemson's got on offense. And I think that's a group that, as Miami's become more prominent in the ACC, we've relaxed this idea that Clemson's still not the best, if not one of the best defenses in the country.
All right, last one, the big one, Iron Bowl. The best college football play I'd ever seen in my life happened in this game a couple years back with that pick, whatever it was, kick 6. First of all, I need to know your thoughts on whether or not you've seen a better play in the history of college football. And secondarily, obviously, what you think about this game on Saturday.
Listen, I'm a little biased to the goal line stand against Stanford that kept my undefeated season alive last year. But if I remove the personal bias, listen, seeing a kick 6 and watching guys like me that played that O-line position struggle to go down there and attempt to cover dynamic athletes in that backfield was one of the more compelling moments in college football lore that we'll ever see. We can only hope, people saying on paper that this could be one of the best Iron Bowls ever. Now, we should learn after week 1 when we had Florida State and Alabama penciled in for the game of the century to lead off the season that all that glitters is not gold when it's on paper. But I think with these two teams, it's going to come down to the quarterbacks on both sides. Jalen Hurts has carried this offense while the defense has suffered a lot of injuries. And on the other side, the formula for beating Alabama has always been the same. Dynamic, mobile quarterback who plays the game of his life and a defense that can hold on and try and just get enough to keep giving that offense cracks at it and make big plays. You need Alabama to sleepwalk a little bit too. So Jarrett Stidham from Auburn going to have to carry the load. I know that's about Kerryon Johnson in that offense, but Jarrett Stidham's going to have to be the story if they win this.
He's Mike Golic Jr. He's a college football analyst. You can hear him on ESPN Radio. Why don't you plug the new show, Gojo?
Yeah, no, we got Golic and Wingo starting Monday morning, 6 to 10 a.m. Eastern on the 27th. I'll be over there for the first hour from 6 to 7, following First and Last that I'll still be doing from 4 to 6 a.m. So you will have plenty of my voice early in your morning. Consider it like a verbal cup of coffee, shot of adrenaline. However you take it, I'll try and help you mainline it.
And he does not disrespect ham, as a side beat. Thanks, Gojo.
No problem. Have a good one, buddy.
Hey, girl, have you done something new with your scales? Using new moisturizer? Nice. It really brings out the hazel in your eyes. Oh, hold on. Are you using whitening strips too? Your fangs look good, girl. Really good.
A really charming snake charmer? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Wait, what? Have you been doing Pilates too?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
It's Black Friday, y'all. The day that I, Clinton Yates, have designated to extol the virtues of blackness in sports in America and elsewhere. By the way, I'm Clinton Yates, in case you didn't figure that out. I write for The Undefeated. I host a show on the weekends on ESPN Radio. And you can see me on Around the Horn. Quickly, before we get to your Sports Center update, understand something. These are the rules. If you come incorrect in my mentions, I will embarrass you in front of your friends and your family, and I will not apologize. But right now, it's time for your Sports Center update. Jerry Jones says the Cowboys are, quote, not a good team right now, end quote. Jones said he believes the team can turn things around, but was careful with his words regarding the future of Jason Garrett and the rest of the staff, saying, I don't want to look like they're getting the proverbial endorsement. That's not what's happening, the vote of confidence. I feel good about our staff. I'm not equivocating about it. On to college football. Mississippi State quarterback Nick Fitzgerald was carted off the field with a dislocated ankle. He was injured minutes into the first quarter. Coach Dan Mullen said Fitzgerald's ankle was dislocated, but didn't have any more details after the game. Lastly, Oscar Pistorius' sentence was increased from 6 years to 13 years and 5 months. The 31-year-old had served more than a year of his initial 6-year sentence for shooting his girlfriend, Reva Steenkamp, multiple times in 2013. The new sentence took into account the time Pistorius had already served in prison and at home under house arrest. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to the Sports Center on ESPN Radio all throughout the day. We're at the top 10, y'all. Top 10 blackest moments in 2017 in sports. Quick review of the top 20. Savannah State winning cheer sport. Nigel Hayes taking on the NCAA. Ibtihaj Muhammad getting her own Barbie. Charles Oakley going nuts at MSG. Sloane Stevens with the Instagram of the year secured the bag. Chance and Quavo's photo of them shooting hoops with Offset on the side. Carla Williams becoming the AD at UVA. Jimmy Butler giving out his phone number on national television. Myron Rolle graduating from med school, and Giffen Gope getting in the bigs and getting a hit in his first big league at bat, probably the highlight of the Pirates season. On the number 10, Kyle Lowry. Some of you might remember when President Donald Trump decided that he wanted to try to ban Muslims from entering this nation. If you don't remember that, go ahead and bang that Google. Kyle Lowry was asked about it. After a game, he just said straight up a word that I can't say on this family of networks, but he said it's BS. He expounded on that a little bit. I think this, I think that is BS, and he didn't say BS. And then when he was asked by the friendly Canadian media if he wanted to, quote, clean that up a little bit, you know what he said? Nah, I'm good. It was a heck of a moment because we all know Kyle Lowry is sort of a nice guy, to be honest. You've seen those bits of him with his kids as a dad. You know, he's not exactly a Patrick Beverly type or anything like that on the court. I'm not saying he's some pushover. That's not what I'm getting at. But he is a generally affable dude as far as his personality was concerned. So when he came out and took that stance and then hit him with the, I said what I said, it was a great moment. Number 9, for those of you who are footy fans, you might remember a moment in 1999 went down in the Rose Bowl where Brandi Chastain scored a penalty kick to win the Women's World Cup. They were playing against China, sealed the deal, one of the most iconic moments in American sports. Some of you might forget that the play before that was one Brianna Scurry saving a PK. Some of you, if you want to get real into the interior chalk talk of the legality of that play and the step out, you can, but I don't care, made the save. That allowed for that play coming up with Brandi Chastain. Brianna obviously was the goalkeeper for the U.S. women's national team for years. Went on to play later in professional women's football, soccer, if you will, here in the U.S. And her career ended up getting derailed by concussions, and her story about that now is really quite something. If you if you look up Brianna Scurry and sort of see what she went through, she is now an advocate for brain injuries and sort of how, to deal with those within athletes. It's really quite remarkable how she's managed to maintain all these years. Long story short, she was elected to the National Soccer Hall of Fame this year. First black woman to do so. Long time coming, well deserved. Shouts to Brianna Scurry. Number 8, Claire Smith. Some of you might not know who Claire Smith is. Frankly, if you're listening to this program, and that's not a shot at anybody in the Dan Le Batard Show listening audience, that's just a reference to the demographics. Claire Smith was a sports writer, the first woman to ever be a full-time sports writer on an MLB beat. Never mind black woman. Claire Smith was given the J.G. Taylor Spink Award. That's what they give out at the Hall of Fame ceremony this year. It's the top honor for a baseball writer. The story that you guys might have heard about her, Claire Smith, is that back in the day when she was covering the Padres, I believe it was, you got a lot of flack for being a woman in the locker room. And that grind of covering a beat in baseball is no joke, Playboy. Understand that. Steve Garvey said, you know what? I don't care what any of these idiots have to say. I'll give you all the time you need until you get your job done. That laid down the line and set the tone for how a lot of other athletes were going to treat her going forward. She now works at ESPN, but she is known in baseball circles as a pioneer. She got an award that said as much this year. Once again, shout out to Claire Smith. Number 7, you know who it had to be. It's definitely Beast Mode. Now, this is where we get into the territory of individuals who have multiple accomplishments on the year that we're just going to highlight as one entry. So don't get bent out of shape about that. Let's not forget what kind of year Marshawn has had. Never mind the reality show, which is incredible. If you have not seen Marshawn Lynch's reality show, it's insanely good. There's a hilarious clip where somebody asks him, would you play tennis against a pregnant Serena Williams? He goes, no, I wouldn't. That's an unfair advantage. And the lady says, well, why? Because she's pregnant? He goes, no, because it's Serena Williams. What is wrong with you? It's very funny. More on her later. There's also the clip of him earlier in the season dancing on the sidelines, Oakland style, when they were whooping up on the Jets. A lot of people on the Jets got mad. Oaktown loved it. I love this move of Marshawn coming back to his hometown. There was a time when I thought that was going to lead them to the Super Bowl before the season. But let's be real. The blackest thing that I've seen out of a lot of people this year that he did, though, was in a preseason game in Oakland where my man walked out on the field eating some chicken wings. That might have been the most glorious thing I've ever seen in my life. He just said, you know what? Because he was hiding behind a side thing right quick, and somebody was clearly filming it, and there was a security guy there. And once he realized he was being filmed, he said, forget it. I'll just take these out on the field. Just Cole eating chicken wings right on the field. What a glorious, beautiful thing. I love Marshawn Lynch. Marshawn Lynch is in the nothing not to like category on many levels for me. Number 6. Mind you, we're reviewing the top 20 blackest moments in sports in 2017 here on the Dan Le Batard Show. Number 6. Look, I know he works for a rival network. I understand that. But, dog, Shannon Sharpe. What are we talking about here? Shannon Sharpe has been bringing the noise on multiple levels regarding a lot of different things in this country issues-wise. And, of course, Miles and that yak. Look, go to your YouTube right now. And by right now, I mean during the break. Or whenever you get some time. And hit up Miles and that yak. Shannon Sharpe out here talking about what he does on Victory Sundays. With his cognac, his Hennessy, and his Black & Milds. My man was on national TV with a Black & Mild in his mouth. There's nothing else to say. There is literally nothing else to say. That had an outside argument for number 1. I mean, that's number 6 in the college football rankings, if you will, in terms of you might deserve a shot at the national title. I want to go see Black Panther with Shannon Sharpe. I'm going to find a way to make that happen. When we come back, we'll get into the top 5.
Cash more of the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugats, 10 to 1 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPNU.
We're now down at the top 5. We've been counting down the top 20 blackest moments in sports of 2017. Quick review. Number 20, Savannah State wins cheer sport. Number 19, Nigel Hayes takes on the NCAA. That actually happened last year, but he played in the tournament this year, so he was both playing in the tournament while he had them in federal court. Ibtihaj Muhammad, number 18, gets a Barbie in her likeness. Number 17, Oakley goes nuts at MSG. Number 16, Sloane Stevens in her Secure the Bag Instagram post. Number 15, Chance the Rapper and Quavo stunting, shooting hoops at a tour stop. Number 14, Carla Williams named AD at UVA. Number 13, Jimmy Butler giving out his phone number on national television. Number 12, Myron Rolle graduates from medical school. Number 11, Gifton Gope gets to the majors and gets a big league hit. Number 10, Kyle Lowry decides he's just going to tell the world what he feels about Donald Trump, and he's not going to apologize. Number 9, Brianna Scary gets into the National Soccer Hall of Fame. Number 8, Claire Smith awarded during Hall of Fame week in Cooperstown. Number 7, Marshawn Lynch and his general existence. And number 6, Shannon Sharpe, Miles and Yak. Number 5. Now, this is sort of a difficult one because it encompasses a lot of things that are a little different. And it's basically Obama leaving office. Now, when Obama left office, he had obviously fielded a lot of teams. You know, championship teams go to the White House and so on and so forth. And, you know, he meets a lot of athletes just as a matter of course. Of course, his history with this network is well known. He used to do the brackets with Andy Katz. And there was 2 particular moments, though, that stood out to me. And number 1 was this one photo / painting, drawing, or what have you, that Kawhi Leonard posted. It's of him presenting 44 with a signed basketball from the whole team. You can see the squad looking on. It's sort of a stylized picture that looks kind of like a painting that's done from a photorealism standpoint. And he has the caption, "One of my greatest experiences." It's a pretty cool moment. You can see how much this means to him. And he's sort of, there's a sort of a regal element to how this looks in a certain way, which is a little awkward, but that's what it is. And that was one moment that stood out to me, sort of how much this meant to a guy like Kawhi, a guy who doesn't talk a whole lot. You don't hear him out in these streets very much, but this is obviously a big moment to him. The other part of that entry is obviously my man Dexter Fowler. You might recall Dexter Fowler of Game 7, 2016 World Series fame, going bing bang right off top, which was incredible. But when he went to the White House with the Cubs, he brought my man a pair of custom Jordan brand sneakers. I mean, think about that. You got one move and you're going to the White House and you bring your mans some POTUS Jordans? Yo, I'm going to D.C., fam. Who's this? This is Dexter Fowler. I need some 44 J's. What? You're the J's guy, right? Yeah, I'm the J's guy. I need some 44 J's. You need 44? Nah, man, 44. You know, the president. Oh, him. Yeah, I need some J's 44. Okay, I got you, fam. He shows up with the custom box. They're the black joints with the patent leather, and they're fly. What a moment. I'm sure Obama must have been thinking, dag, I didn't know you were moving like that, Dexter. They're pretty dope. The box is cool. The shoes are cool. It's a great move. So that's number 5. Obama leaving the White House and what that meant to a couple different people. Number 4, y'all hate him. Y'all don't like him. But y'all got to deal with him. Undefeated, never lost. It's LeVar Ball and the Ball family. Let's review their year. Lonzo gets drafted. Family launches reality show. LaMelo gets his own shoe. Then he drops an N-bomb on a WWE broadcast. Side element that I know you forgot about. Then LiAngelo gets in house arrest in China. Under house arrest in China. And then LeVar manages to mix it up with the President of the United States of America. I mean, look. I don't know about you, but that's a pretty big year overall for the Ball family. Y'all can call me up on the phone. Y'all can get on my Twitter feed with all your nonsense about why you don't like him. We know why. But they had a big year. Period. The Ball family is on the map in a major way. And don't tell me about how he's exploiting his kids until you're ready to talk to me about Kris Jenner, because they ain't doing that either. That's what's called making money in America. Believe that. Anyway, LeVar Ball, big year. Ball family, big year. We still got a month left, and you know how they move in the news cycle, so we'll see how that goes. Number 3. This might come to us as a surprise to some of y'all, but this was borderline going to be number 1. I was talking to Dominique Foxworth, my co-host on the Morning Roast, along with Mina Kimes on ESPN Radio. You hear him on this program a lot. That being the Dan Le Batard Show. I'm Clinton Yates filling in. And I said, yo, this was going to be number 1. He was like, come on, man. I said, yeah, look, when I decided to make this list, it was basically centered around the fact that I kind of wanted this to be number 1. But ultimately, I realized that was irresponsible and stupid. But it's Aqib Talib snatching Michael Crabtree's chain on the field. I mean, that's one of the blackest things I've seen of all time. For those of you who don't understand, that was not just your garden variety prank. That was an absolutely disrespectful move on every single level. The move was so black, the refs didn't even know how to handle it. He didn't even get flagged. Because what you gonna flag? Excessive blackness? I mean, this is a flag. We've seen this before. But they don't say that. My man just cold yanked his chain on the field. Crabtree was shocked, as he should have been. Aqib Talib was laughing. But you don't mess with Aqib Talib. Aqib Talib is insert any qualifier you want about that action. Stay Ready All-Star. Shouts to Bo and Shannon. Member of the Hands community. Member of the Ratchet community, if you know what I'm saying. You ain't messing with Aqib Talib. Period. Or anybody in his family for that matter either. That's number 3. Number 2 is my favorite athlete of all time, Serena Williams. First of all, she won her 10th Grand Slam since turning 30 when she banged out the Aussie earlier in the year. Next closest person has 3, just so you understand where her records are living at. Then there had a nice little moment where she showed up to that court with a couple of rando bros just to hit some balls, walking around with her man and her dog. She said, hey, guys, you want to hit? They were like, yeah, whatever, when we're done. They came over. It was Serena. They were like, yo, hold up. Yes, you need a racket? Yada, yada. She went out there in Ugg boots, hit it with those Bama's. Unbelievable moment. Then she was on Vanity Fair in all of her gloriousness. Pregnant. Great story as well. Then she had the baby, Alexis Olympia. If you haven't seen that Gatorade commercial for her, it's incredible. She did that lovely Snapchat story as a dedication to her daughter. I mean, she's just had an incredible year. She's a very inspirational figure, period. Never mind the best tennis player of all time. Don't at me. Oh, yeah, and then she revealed all the wedding details that she had, which is incredible. Had a different trophy of a Grand Slam win on all her different tables for the guests. Your fave could never. Literally. She just had a great year. And she would be number 1 atop this list if it weren't for one person. Look, y'all know who that person is. There's simply no way around this responsibly without talking about what's going on this year in terms of sports, in terms of America, and frankly in terms of the rest of the globe. It's Colin Kaepernick. You can at me, you can go, you can say whatever you want. But the reality is that this man has changed the way we interact with our sports games as fans and, frankly, as citizens of this nation. Cowboys owner Jerry Jones almost lost his mind trying to deal with this. Folks were demonstrating outside of Roger Goodell's offices, the NFL headquarters. People are holding rallies across the country. The president is yelling about this guy, tweeting about this guy. Not that that's necessarily an exclusive club, but you see my point. You got hockey players demonstrating about the national anthem. 8-year-olds at Pop Warner football games demonstrating. Cheerleaders demonstrating. High school kids demonstrating. D3 football players demonstrating. Basketball players, men and women. Women started it first, demonstrating. You got German soccer players across the pond demonstrating before Bundesliga matches. And GQ named him the Citizen of the Year. No matter what you may think about what the purpose of his protest was, or no matter what you may think about whether or not pregame protests are an effective way to call attention to the abuse that black folks in America have to deal with from law enforcement and other institutionalized racist institutions, he's been effective for the simple reason that you are now forced to think about something that he called attention to. It's been effective. It's worked. It hasn't necessarily induced change yet. But again, sacrifice is not required for effective protest. Colin Kaepernick is easily the blackest moment in America in sports in 2017.